Hey everyone, I wanted to welcome you back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Our Time Monday updates. Again, I'm here with Alan Hoffman, who is helping running the project. He is, actually, you are technically the owner signing, right?
Owner's representative.
Owner's representative, yeah. So that's really helping us, means I don't have to go to all the construction meetings. I can pop in and out kind of whenever I can, which is really awesome. It's been a great benefit. So, again, we probably can't thank you enough for your expertise, the time you're sharing. So I can't wait to see you retire for like number 5 or 6, whatever number you're into now. So today we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do the interior demo. So I do want to kind of warn you, like some of these pictures are gonna be kind of hard because it's our beloved church being torn apart. So if you don't want to watch them, if you want to see them, know that everything's been put back together in probably even better condition than we left it, because that's the whole reason we're doing this. And so just a kind of heads up that you're going to see pews being removed, and my fingerprint is yeah. Oh my gosh, technology! I'm telling you what, we're getting there.
Yeah.
It fell asleep on them. So what we're going to look at is pews being pulled out, taken apart, and again, a reminder. We saved the ends, because those were the beautiful ends,
Right.
Historical, and we're going to get new backs and boards.
And seats, backs and seats.
Oh, backs and seats, yeah, backs and seats and kneelers.
Right.
We did decide they're going to be wooden pews, there's not going to be a cushion.
Right.
We thought that would be, in the long run, better for maintenance, for upkeep, and also it takes us kind of to a more original pew, which we thought would be really important for a lot of people to kind of return to an original feel to the church.
Right.
Because those cushions we discovered were put on there because the seats were so bad. Yeah, that they tried to find a solution, and it did work for a while, but now that we're taking care of it, it's been really awesome. Another thing I found interesting when we took those pews out was those pews that were up against the wall, not decorated at all.
No, the end, the blank, in the center there's that decorative.
Yeah.
Against the wall they're blanks.
Yeah, our ancestors did not want to work harder than they had to, which is totally fine.
They were conservative.
They were.
Saving somebody.
They were, yeah. And so, the first picture you see up here is some of the pews just are being ripped out. What they did, we had a great team of volunteers that came in.
Fantastic.
And the company, Gunter came in, and they just cut about 6 inches into the pew, took the ends with them back to their factory. They're taking them apart, getting all the old varnish off.
Getting the screws and nails and stuff, and they were really put together with a lot of different, just to keep it going. And too, what we did is we had these group. Well, I didn't want to take. Were you going to say something?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, as Gunner came in, we had, probably took 3 days there. It was probably a group of 10, 15 guys that came in and worked with us. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to take the backs and seats and save it. And we did save what we could, the wood, because somebody might want it, so we have that in a warehouse now.
Yeah.
And as we got into taking them apart, as the seats, we really found out how bad the seats were, and really could not save much of the seats because of how they were worn and put back together. So
because really at the end of the day, the cushions were really a plywood seat that was sitting on top of
with the original seat.
And so that was some of which more saving, but we did save the wood, and we're going to try to figure out in the coming months how to share that, maybe make some crosses.
Right.
We've got a committee working on that, so kind of stay tuned for that. But some of it was really a great wood, and we didn't.
It's beautiful. We just couldn't.
Here, you can set that aside. I think it's going to go on to sleep again, so we'll just use my laptop. Don't worry. So
I should keep.
That's right. Yeah, but it's hard to have a conversation and tap a screen the whole time. So, so a lot of good things were happening there. So you can see they came in. You can see some of the pews. This is kind of midway through where they were cutting some of the pews, and then a team came in and disassembled all the rest of the pews so that they could be taken out to a warehouse and kind of figure out what we're going to do with them next. So,
really, Father, we really did a lot of due diligence on those pews because the pews were very emotional. And I get it. I'm very much, preservation too, and I like the old things. But these pews were built at a different time, and the fact of the matter is, we've all grown since then.
Yeah.
And that's the big issue, and they were in pretty bad shape. But we had the professionals involved, actually working with me and Gunter on the options. And in fact, one of the individuals in particular was really focused on preserving the pews as they were. And so I involved him and others as well. And so we came to a consensus that the right thing for the parish long term was to replace the seats and back, but certainly retain the ends.
Yeah, and that's the blessing of in Jasper. We have so many woodworkers
Exactly.
that we could really pull in some of our parishioners who could have a really honest discussion about what we need to do to move forward. And it's just been a huge blessing to kind of rely on that expertise. I mean, we always joke that some of these guys have forgotten more about woodworking than anyone could work. Yeah, so we see that, and it's so the next one you'll see the church is totally empty now. It is a bare, empty floor. All the pews are out. It looks great. It was funny afterwards. They had swept in there, so this is probably the cleanest the church has been for a while.
It doesn't look like this anymore.
No, it does not. No. We'll show some more pictures of some of the demo, but yeah. So they got it all out. It was just cool to walk in there. I loved. It never failed. Everyone became like a 5-year-old when they walked in that building because the first thing they wanted to do was make the church echo. So I mean, every group we took in there, if it was the renovation committee or if anyone, it felt like everyone wanted to just go, "Boo!" and just hear it echo to the whole church because it echoes very well now. So, and then we see some more pictures just of being empty. Again, everything's out of there now, and it's just incredible. And there is it's really hard to see, but we're going to maybe try to share some pictures later too. The walls are filthy where the pews are at. I mean, 150 years of dirt and candle smoke and all that. And so there's just
back by the little shrine, with the candle smoke, they're black.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of interesting. We don't notice those things until we take everything out and we can see some of the contrasts. And now the next step after we got the pews out was demo of the loft. And so our organ guys came in, they covered everything, they took all of our pipes out, we've got them stashed in places in the parish center so that they're protected. And then really they just ripped up the loft. I mean, they did it's incredible to see. Now they've even done even more since these pictures were taken. The the choir lofts are all gone. And then, but we found some things.
Yes, we are, of course, there will be new steps put in there, so the lofts had to be removed on the sides because of the construction. And as we did that, this was all beams and, built the old way, but then there have been some modifications over the years. And we did find some structural issues on that, and actually now we do have some posts bracing up until we can get the engineering and the steel that we need to do some repairs in there. One of the beams on the side is actually cracked, and but it's and then to that the front part of the balcony where the console of the organ was, that was removed because that had a balcony bounce. And as we demoed it, we found out why. It's just structurally not the way it needs to be. So we're addressing all of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things like we could crawl in there all day long, but it's just a crawl space. You're not going to see things. So what we have been, as we take things out, we're seeing some of the damage that's been caused just from years of people being up there. Nothing out of the ordinary, but it is kind of a blessing because that crack basically runs the entire height of the beam, but it doesn't go all the way through the beam. Because if it was gone all the way through the beam, well, the beam would be gone. But and there's another spot where a lot of the support is actually resting like a 2x4.
It is, yes, and it's And so I mean, it's just things that we've found that structurally we have a great church. We have great bones.
Yeah.
But we do now that we get into this thing, we have the opportunity to do what we need to do and preserve this thing for future generations.
Yeah. And I think that's been a huge blessing. I mean, I know I had some people tell me that thanks God we found this. When we did because. it could have been a lot worse, but praise be Jesus Christ, and He's been guarding us. But it's really a good thing that we're in there and we're digging around and finding those things. So and so that's really the demo. The good news is it's kind of a short video because there's really only one giant room that was demoed.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And once we kind of get digging in there, we're going to start pouring some footers into the ground, so we're going to have to start cutting up a piece of the floor, which was expected. But so we'll see kind of what happens when that happens, because the more we dig in there, the more we realize this is an old building, and so we're kind of crossing our fingers, praying hard that everything seems okay, and we can keep moving forward. So,
and too, on the structural issues on the balcony, we found some things, but they're not unsurmountable, and they're not huge leg breakers in terms of our costs.
Yeah.
Because we did anticipate, it's an old building, 140 years old plus, so we did anticipate we're going to have some things we just did not know. So it's not a big surprise.
Yeah, and then the other thing we found, we kind of knew this before, but we've been struggling to figure out how to address it, was the ceiling.
Yes.
We have this, it looks like, that there's some green triangles, and it looks like they painted it, and then they came back and sprayed almost like an insulation foam sound absorbing thing on top of it, right?
Well, what we thought was that there was a fabric.
Okay, like a wallpaper almost.
Right, because when you feel it, it feels like a felt.
Yeah.
Well, so we had the experts come in and look at it, and they said that's not a fabric, that's a material, and it's got to come off.
Yeah.
And we said, what? And so anyway, it's on there very hard, and it has to come off because as you put paint over the top of it, it can get moisture, and it can release, and there was a big bubble on the right side of the church up front that happened. So anyway, so now where we are is we have found a company that's going to work with us, and the decorative painter as well, and to remove that coating, and then the plaster as it is will be repaired to some extent, but the plaster that's up there we think is pretty good.
Yeah.
It just needs to be repaired.
Yeah, and I think some of that is we kind of had anticipated some of these problems. We had some money built into our budget,
yes.
So that's really great that we were kind of prudent in that regard. But it's also what they're basically going to do is take, and to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to take basically industrial steamers and try to get moisture back behind it.
That's right.
And see if that peels away. And they did a section.
And then they scrape it off. And yes, they could come in. We asked them to come in and show us what they're going to do, and to confirm their costs as well.
Yeah.
And so they did that, and we have a firm bid now. So we're
awesome.
Well within our. We had estimates for all these things.
Yeah.
And we had amounts, anticipating things we didn't expect. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they tried everything. We've tried sanding it off, grind wheeling it off.
Yeah.
We tried just painting over the top of it. All of these things, but this is really the solution. It's also, I've joked with Alan a lot, what do you think our decision that we've made is going to be in 50 years? And why did they make that decision?
That's right.
This is the thing.
Well, to that point, we expect this thing to be here a long time.
Yeah.
Beyond our time. And, some of the things that you find out, if you don't address them now, at some point, there will be an issue.
Yeah.
And I show you what my name is associated with. Why did they think of this years ago?
Yeah. Why did they just cover this up?
That's right.
Yeah. It's like whenever I got to my parents, they were doing their bathroom many years ago, and there was 5 layers of wallpaper. It's okay. So we took it all the way down. It was a lot of extra work, but it set the next owners up, the next generation up for a really beautiful place that's going to be well taken care of, and that's really the goal.
Right.
It's our time to restore it for the future, and so I think that's really awesome. So we've got that taken care of. That was a lot of work. We were in that building a lot, looking up. I never went up on a scissor lift. There was no way I was going to go up that.
No, that's shaky.
That's yeah.
Feel that movement.
Yeah, and I'm not a small guy. I don't know how good those hydraulics are. So those two things were both kind of surprises. We knew we'd find something in the choir loft because we knew that bounce was there. We didn't know it was as bad, maybe. Not critical, not mission critical, but it was definitely a good time to kind of address that, and then kind of removing that fabric material thing. We've been trying to brainstorm. Why did they do this? What was it? Some people say sound, but our sound engineers are like, well, it's 90 feet in the air, so no one's singing up there except for the angels, maybe.
We're always continually asking ourselves, why do we have to do that? And Bill Kremp and I were talking one day about the balcony, and he says, we talk about this stuff a lot, and we thought, do we really have to do the balcony? And he says, I'm very glad we did, because if we don't address this now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really kind of we did have such a great team working on it that are really open to kind of, that they want this place to be a place of hope for generations to come, and I think that's really awesome. So, awesome. Is there anything else that we found in the building that, as of right now, from the demo side, obviously we'll have more updates to come, but I think right now the demo was just really interesting.
We're what if in the design on the gathering room wall, that wall for the gathering space, we have stone there, and we have that leaded glass. We're trying to find stone that matches.
Oh, no, okay.
And what we're trying to do is salvage or take some of the stone in the back so we can put it so that it does match. But that's also something that we're in the process of doing that, and that's a job.
Yeah.
And we have a connection with St. Minor, which is where we think the stone came from,
Originally,
and we're trying to work with them on that piece. But that's a big demo thing that.
Yeah, because we talked about that. That's a good point. That we've been trying to harvest that stone, but if you chip it, then you got to cut it again. And the problem is that if we cut small stones, it is not going to match the rest of the church. Because some of these slabs are pretty huge.
They are. Yeah, we want it to look like it was all set.
Yeah.
And that's. So we're on top of that, but that's been a bit of a challenge. So
that's awesome. Well, good. We'll kind of pray that some of those doors open up. And then I thought we'd end with this last picture. This is, but since everything's out of there, no one's in there, we flew a drone, and this is above the high altar, kind of above that cross, and you can just see the church is totally empty. We've boarded up most of the windows to kind of make sure they're protected. We've boarded them up from the inside now, so that nothing kind of inside, none of the outside's done. We've moved all those boards inside.
And the stations, the actual figures on the stations have been moved out.
That's right.
To protect them, and put those in sacristy. So
we've got those in storage, ready for. They're going to do those with the decorative painting company. Is going to restore all that. So it's just an incredible place right now, and blessed be God. It's just this wonderful project that keeps moving forward. So, like I said, continue to pray for the project. Continue to kind of get those pledge cards back, and so far. Everyone's still safe, and so keep praying for all those workers that are just doing an incredible job. And also maybe pray for Alan, myself, Father Eugene, and all the team that's working on it, because we've got decisions to make, and it's a lot of work to kind of keep all these balls in the air. So.
And we do have a great team working on this project.
Yeah, so
hopefully very blessed.
Yeah, maybe in future episodes we can hear from them and interview them and see kind of what it's been like to work on this wonderful building. So awesome. Well. So we'll do another episode in like 2 weeks or so. Just kind of give an update. Like I said, we're trying our best to kind of keep things rolling, but there's a lot of work. But we want to keep you informed, and so just kind of keep watching out for updates. There was an update in the bulletin in early October.
Past weekend.
Yeah, so we will be able to highlight kind of the good things that were in there, maybe with some more of those. So just keep praying for everything, and thanks so much for all the support. And we will see you soon.